Hey kids, you want to buy some blades and show your bullies that they shouldn't mess around with you? Alright, so I ordered some messers from Purpleheart Armoury recently and want to give you my impression of them so far. So this right here is the Penty messer version 4. It's made with a nylon blade and it's got a steel guard and pommel. The cord wrap here is customizable. There are 8 different colors and you can also mix colors if you want, which costs a bit extra. And so normally they go for 115 US dollars. Right now they're on sale for 110. And this is a pretty standard training tool. There are some pros and cons of synthetics compared to steel. The pros are, for one, they're cheaper, and also they're more durable. Basically, these are indestructible. I've never seen or heard of them being broken. Now, they can sometimes deform a little bit, especially if you leave them in a hot car, for example. They can kind of warp, they can bend. These ones here seem a little more sturdy than others. They're stiffer. It's a pretty thick blade, so I don't really expect these to take a set. These are completely maintenance free. With steel blades, every now and then you have to file out the nicks to make sure they're still safe. These, basically, they're beaters. So you can just keep using them over and over again. There's absolutely nothing to worry about. The cons are, for one, they are lighter, so they handle differently than steel blades, and also they are really slippery. Try to practice binding and winding, you would have to modify them. The easiest temporary solution is to put grip tape on the edge so there's a bit of friction. The problem is, as you use them, as you cut and parry and they collide, you tear up the grip tape in no time. But you may be able to figure something else out, like perhaps epoxy a strip of rubber to the edge, things like that. Another drawback is that they don't flex as much as steel. So in the thrust, they aren't quite as safe. If I try to flex this is about as far as it goes. So that is a very stiff blade. Compare that to the steel messer here, which we'll get to as well. A lot more flex and quite a bit safer in the thrust. These are quite well shaped overall. My only complaint would be that it's a bit of a rough surface. You can see milling marks here. Also in the fuller, you have pretty rough, kind of sharp feeling edges. So a bit of sandpaper would be good. The guard is nicely shaped and very securely attached. Don't have to worry about that. The pommel is very nice. It's a bit odd that the pommel is polished to a mirror finish, while the guard actually looks like aluminum to me, but apparently it is steel, according to Purpleheart Armoury on the website. But yeah, either way, so the proportions are really good overall. So you got plenty of handle here. You could use it with 2 hands if you wanted, but you can also use it for hooking, grappling, things you would do with a messer. We've done some light sparring with these, which work nicely. Again, very durable, and they don't hit very hard because they're quite light. The grip is very comfortable. You can definitely feel the edge alignment well. There's plenty of real estate for gloved hands as well, even if you have large gauntlets. No problem at all here. So handling is great. They're very quick and agile. In fact, a bit too much so, I would say. So the weight of these is 728 grams or 1.6 pounds, just under the normal range for messers. Generally, historical messers, single-handed ones, were around 1 kilogram, some bit less. For example, this sharp messer I reviewed a while ago weighed in at 830 grams or a bit over 1 3/4 pounds. And this practice messer from Albion weighs 928 grams or almost exactly 2 pounds. So this is quite a bit lighter, but it's also balanced differently. So you check the balance on the Albion here. It's not terribly close to the hilt, which it really shouldn't be. A messer should have a certain amount of blade presence for powerful cuts. This one here balances noticeably closer to the hilt. So that, in combination with the light weight, makes this feel really more like a side sword maybe. This one here has significantly more blade presence, more heft to it overall. I mean, of course, it's steel. So subjectively, this feels too light for a messer, even though it's only 100 grams less than the other real steel messer that I mentioned. So this is a less expensive alternative to a steel messer, but I have to say at 115 or 110 right now dollars, I wish it was under 100 to be even more accessible. Now I don't know about the costs involved in making these. I just think it would be great if they cost less than $100 to be just more affordable. But synthetics in general are a staple practice tool due to their lower cost and basically indestructible nature. So moving on to the bigger brother, this is the Tricksmaster V3. This one, same deal, nylon blade, steel guard, steel pommel, cord wrap with the different color options. This one also costs $115, just like the shorter one, which is kind of odd. I would expect it to be a little more, but I'm assuming the extra material makes a negligible difference. So this one weighs 868 grams or 1.9 pounds. This is the weight of a single-handed messer, which makes it extremely light. It's even more apparent than with the single-handed ones because you have this kind of length with an extremely low weight. If we compare that to the kriegsmesser from Black Fencer, this is actually made based on the measurements of the Albion Knecht. This is significantly heavier. I mean, you can see it's a much wider blade. This one weighs 1.3 kilograms or 2.88 pounds. For comparison, here's the real Knecht. This weighs 1.376 kilograms or 3 pounds. Very close. But keep in mind that this is based on a different type of kriegsmesser. They weren't all this wide. Some had relatively narrow. The steel equivalent to this would be a bit lighter than the Knecht. So the observations I pointed out before apply to this one as well. It is just the two-handed version. It's pretty much identical in terms of construction and style and everything. So everything I said about the other one applies to this, except that the issue with the weight is even more apparent here. This one is just, it feels almost like a plastic toy, I have to say. So I wish it was heavier, but the nice thing is due to the longer blade, it has a bit more flex. So this is safer in the thrust than the single-handed version. And again, strong material, obviously sturdy, so also no maintenance here. And it handles well, feels quite good, and it works. Here's a steel practice messer made by Viktor Berbekucz. I may have butchered that. I think that might be how you pronounce it. Viktor B, we're just gonna call him. So this is a steel messer version 2, goes for $232.50. Doesn't come with a rubber blunt, by the way. I ordered that separately and put it on. Underneath is a roll tip, and the blade is made of 51 CRV4 carbon steel. When I first took this out of the box, this one also surprised me. It's along the same theme as the others. Extremely light, or at least it feels very light. It weighs 941 grams or 2 pounds, which is perfectly within the weight range for a messer, so no surprise there. But it feels different, simply because the balance is very close to the hilt. So that makes it handle quite a bit different than what I would normally expect from a messer. That can mess with you a little bit in the bind. If you expect to be able to displace a sword, with a krump, for example, this doesn't really have the mass it needs to really clear it and get a dominant overbind. Though in all fairness, this original messer has an almost identical blade profile and probably performed very similarly. It seems very well made. So the edge here is rounded, so you don't have hard corners on it, so that's nice and safe. And it's the right kind of thickness too. Flex, as I showed earlier, is good. It's not floppy by any means, so it has the right kind of stiffness that you want, but it definitely flexes enough to be safe. So pretty well-shaped blade overall. It's nice and even. The fuller is done quite well, and the guard is definitely well fitted. You have very minimal gap right there, so really tight fit right there. The handle scales are made of G10, which is nice, and also well shaped. I think For me personally, I would prefer if the handle scales were a little thinner. They're somewhat on the thick side, which is good if you have larger hands, and doesn't really bother me overall. Handling is still good. And also here, the way it's shaped, there's nothing left rough, so definitely good job on that. The nagel or nail guard here is also nicely shaped. Remarkably nice craftsmanship on this. Should be sturdy too. I can't say anything about the long-term durability yet because I haven't been practicing with it for a whole lot, but I would expect it to be good unless there's an issue with the tempering that makes the blade brittle or anything like that. This should hold up quite well. My only complaint is the balance seems a little odd, at least compared to this. This has a significant blade presence while still feeling light. So you can tell just by looking at the profile. This is a much wider blade compared to this. This tapers a lot more, so it is intentional, clearly, to bring the point of balance back further. And it does depend on which messer you look at, because there was a certain amount of variation. Not all of them had particularly wide blades. Some of them may taper. Some were straighter than others, etc. There was definitely a certain amount of variation here. Of course, this won't hit as hard, so you don't need as much protective gear. You don't need to pull the hits quite as much, which is nice. I would definitely recommend using these in pairs, so you spar against another messer of the same type, so that not one of the two are disadvantaged because of the different heft that this has. So yeah, for the price, I would recommend it. I mean, the Albion practice messer costs quite a bit more. And for a good blunt steel trainer, this is a pretty good price in my opinion. Definitely nicely made. I like how the guard is shaped, allows you to very quickly change into a thumb grip. So I would suggest taking a look at it if you're looking for a steel practice messer. I'll leave a link down below, which by the way is an affiliate link. So I do get some kickback from this. But yeah, I hope you found the review helpful. Well, it's not really a review as such. That's why I call it a first impression, because I haven't used it long term. So I can't tell you if there are any hidden structural weaknesses that only reveal themselves with a lot of hard practice. Wouldn't it be hilarious if I just snapped this in half just from doing this? Anyway, thanks for watching and have a good one, folks.